Eagles head coach Nick Sirianni spoke to the media at the NFC Coaches Breakfast today. Hear what he had to say about the current team's outlook and why Jalen Hurts is the best quarterback in the NFC. Plus, Howie Roseman shares what actually happened in the CJ Gardner Johnson drama. But first, let's run it. Josh Davis here, and I hope you're having a great Tuesday. Please make sure to like and subscribe. Reminder, tomorrow, live show, 7 o'clock Eastern with Thomas Mott of The Thomas Mott Show. The NFC Coaches Breakfast, the meetings, the breakfast, was today, and head coach Nick Sirianni spoke to the media.
You're obviously disappointed that you got that far. My brother asked me to text his nephew who was playing in the state championship basketball game last week in the state of New York, and I texted him. I said, hey, I've been in regional championship games in basketball while I was in high school. I've been in national championship games as a coach. I've been in, and I've been able to coach in the Super Bowl, and it's always about the journey. Go enjoy this journey, but the journey's a lot more sweet when you win it. And they actually won. I don't think it had anything to do with my pep talk, but they won, and I was happy for them. But it was a special journey, and I think when you look back at it, you know it's a special journey. But the other thing that it does is it builds your hunger of wanting to recapture whatever you can recapture. Again, we won't talk. Us. We're not going to talk about the Super Bowl. We got to get back to the Super Bowl. You're not going to hear us say that. You're going to hear us say we got to go attack the next segment of our process, right? And which will be the off-season program, which will be OTAs and different things like that. You get close, and it just fuels your hunger of just what the steps that you had to take to get there. And then that every detail matters, and you're going to go and try to recapture everything you can as far as the work to put in. And so I think that's just what it does. It just makes you more hungry. There's that thing that Jalen talking. He's like, I'm not hungry. I'm starving. You guys all saw that. I'm starving for this, all right? And I think that just makes you more hungry, makes you more starving. And I know that's the sentiment of the guys that we have in that locker room. I know that's the sentiment of the coaches. I sure know it's the sentiment of me, just more determined than ever. Yeah, he's still in there working hard, still in there going, lifting and working it like a maniac in the weight room. Just getting after it. Because again, people have asked me how good can Jalen Hurts be? No one knows what Jalen's ceiling can be, but I know, God willing, he can reach it because of all the factors that he has. So he's not all of a sudden different because he's still putting in the work like you've seen him put in the work the last couple years. Part of what makes Jalen special is everything that he can do. We'll do what we have to do to win football games, no matter what that is. And Jalen, does a lot of things special, and we'll try to showcase all the things that he does special, and we'll try to recap the things that that we did last year with him, and then try to add some new wrinkles with different things that we do. It would not. Yeah, we'll do what we need to do to win games, and we have a special quarterback, and we'll use his special abilities.
Joe Giglio of WIP last week was saying that Jalen Hurts is not elite. Kind of started this argument of, well, what's the elite echelon of quarterbacks? Jalen Hurts was great, led him to Super Bowl, but he's not really at that elite status. I think that's absolutely ludicrous to be able to say that Jalen Hurts is not an elite quarterback. Again, we've seen the steps that Jalen Hurts has taken, but what's most important, you heard it there in the interview, Nick said he's still grinding. He is not a single day off. He's in the weight room, he's lifting, he's motivated, he's hungry. The desire is there, and that hasn't changed. And even the fact that Jalen knows there's a big contract coming, that's not going to change him. We know who Jalen is, his character, and his leadership mentality. So thumbs up for Jalen. I am super excited. I cannot wait. I've said it many times, cannot wait for the regular season. But I think it just speaks to the hunger of this team. And you heard it there from Nick Sirianni. He even says, we're not going to be talking about the Super Bowl. I'm not going to be referencing that or bringing that up with my players. It is about the journey. It's about the process. And you win every single day. You don't look ahead and say, oh yeah, let's get back to the Super Bowl. Because as soon soon as you do that, teams come up and sneak up on you, and really the expectations get you to the point to where you're not playing for each and every game. You have a slip up, you have some weaknesses. So again, I think this is the right mindset to have. Thumbs up for Nick Sirianni. I love the coaching staff, love the mentality, and they know what it takes to get to the Super Bowl. Also, Nick had mentioned in the press conference as well, speaking about Sean Desai. So I wanted to pull a tweet here from Josh Tolentino, but he says, Sirianni says he spent the past couple of weeks getting on the same page with new defensive coordinator Sean Desai. Desai's scheme has similarities to Jonathan Gannon's, but Sirianni noted there will be differences. That's great, fantastic news, because yes, there's maybe some similarities, which is nice for some of the players, because obviously you've kept several of the players from the defense last season, but we want a little bit of changes because, again, we remember Jonathan Gannon and his weaknesses, the very soft zone. There's some similarities there, but Desai changes things up and gives new looks to defenses or to opposing quarterbacks with his defenses. And so I think that that's fantastic. I cannot wait to see what goes into play here with the fit. And obviously, we've got the draft coming up, the free agent signings coming into play too, and how that'll impact the defense. But I think that we're in store for really a great, productive season on the defensive end. And I really think that this defensive side of the football is getting overlooked, quite honestly. As far as Quez Watkins, that's another topic that he mentioned there. Got a question asked about Quez Watkins and his role, and he said, here, you see the tweet, Quez did a lot of things that really affected the game that don't show up on the stat sheet. The difference this year and last year was opportunity. He didn't have as many of them. He did have some timely plays for us, end quote. You could argue and make the case, yes, obviously in the Super Bowl, Quez dropped the pass. That probably would have changed the complete outcome of the game, but it never boils down to one play, and much like it didn't for Bradbury, and Nick said that as well, the holding call, it's never one play. But yes, there was a little bit of a letdown, and we're kind of hoping that Quez would have played a little bit better. But in the full interview, and you can listen to it, I've got the link below, Nick goes in to say that obviously with the opportunities, you had A.J. Brown, you had Devontae Smith, you had Dallas Goedert, you had Miles Sanders, you had so many other offensive weapons, so Quez just wasn't going to get the ball thrown his way as often. That makes sense. That's understandable. So, I don't know. It's a question of, hey, do the Eagles need a third receiver? Yes, probably, because you lost Zach Pascal, and you're not sure about Quez Watkins, but I don't know if you're going to really go out and sign a big-name free agent, or even for draft capital that you're going to use one of your first-round picks, or probably even second-round pick, to get a receiver in the draft. Maybe we'll have to see, but I don't think that that's the right route to go. I do agree with Nick. There wasn't as many opportunities for Quez, but at the same time, you're kind of wondering, is he slipping up, and does he have a whole lot of more potential that he can live up to? We'll see. The other big news coming out yesterday, late yesterday, word broke, obviously, Howie Roseman giving his press conference kind of interviews with the media at the owners' meeting, but news has come out revealing news about what actually happened with CJ Gardner-Johnson. There were some reports, obviously, the Eagles gave a deal early on, and CJ said no, but we didn't know the exact rumors or the exact storyline and how it transpired. So Howie broke it down, and this comes from Dave Zangaro of NBC Sports, but it says, Roseman explains what happened with CJ Gardner-Johnson. In the article, it says, quote, the Eagles wanted to bring back CJ Gardner-Johnson, but they couldn't just wait around, so they moved on. That was the explanation General Manager Howie Roseman gave on Monday at the NFL's annual league meetings for losing CJ Gardner-Johnson during the free agency earlier this month. I think when you go back to the start of free agency, we talked to his representatives about bringing him back here, and also talked to them about the fact that we had limited resources, Roseman said. It's not a secret that sometime relatively soon we wanted to extend our quarterback. Our whole kind of roster building is going to turn a little bit from a quarterback on a rookie deal towards hopefully a quarterback on a long-term deal. Not that we have anything done or anything, but that's obviously our goal, is to keep Jalen here for a long time, and so you run out of resources. We were very clear at some point we were going to go in a different direction in those first couple days. We tried and then we pivoted. I think that's one of the most important things in free agency. You go in with a plan, but you have to be able to pivot and have other options and not get stuck with nothing. I think at that point, that's where we went. When we pivoted, that was kind of where we went. The Eagles started free agency to bring back CJ Gardner-Johnson and offered him a multi-year deal, a league source told NBC Sports Philadelphia. When that deal was turned down, the Eagles decided they couldn't wait. That's when they pivoted and found a way to bring back James Bradbury on a 3-year deal and a way to keep Darius Slay on a 3-year deal. And then the article goes on to mention too, obviously the Eagles didn't plan on pivoting to the quarterback market, but kind of that's the way things transpired. And it says here too, kind of snooze you lose. I encourage you to go read the entire article. But CJ Gardner-Johnson, their camp misread the whole situation. And so the report initially, and I know that his agent agency went out there and said, hey, would you take this deal versus this deal? Ridiculous tweet that they're going out, but kind of par for the course for CJ Gardner-Johnson. But it come to find out, the Eagles made him a good offer. He said, nah, I could probably get more money. And then turns out, as we saw, the safety market was down, but the Eagles said, you know what, we're moving on. We need to. There was the opportunity for the Eagles to match, but at that point for the 1-year deal, I don't think they wanted to. And the article mentions it here as well. The Eagles were concerned about maybe even how CJ Gardner-Johnson would interpret that of, oh, wow, okay, I've got to sign for a 1-year deal, less than what I want. And just the vibe, the locker room, we saw all of his deleted tweets. And I think that really hurt his value. And so there's a quote here at the end that Howie mentions of, did they match? Did they have the opportunity to match? Did they want to? He says, quote, I think we talked so much. I'm trying to think. He may say yes, Roseman said. I don't remember specifically if he said, hey, I have this. I think at that point in time, he was ready to move on, end quote. So you don't know for sure. And Howie's even kind of alluding to the fact that maybe we were not really wanting to move forward with CJ Gardner-Johnson at that point. And I think thumbs up for that, really, because as we've seen this thing transpire, I've come to the realization of I think it's a blessing in disguise that he was not re-signed, especially for the deal that he was wanting. And also, he would obviously have been very upset at that point. So good news there. Just wanted to cover it. And it's always great to have both sides of the story because we were getting some of CJ's, but not all of Howie. And so at least he was able to speak on that. So thumbs up there. Another point, too, that's being made, and this is what Nick had shared in his interview with the media, but talking about Reed Blankenship. And I think that's another factor that goes into play here is Howie and the Eagles felt great about Reed Blankenship coming in and taking over for CJ Gardner-Johnson because he did that and he played very well. But Nick mentioned in the press conference earlier, he said, no doubt we do have confidence in him. We have confidence in him on a 16-4 team last year to start games. We have a lot of confidence that he can do the same thing this year, end quote. This is a guy who played very well. He played better in coverage. If you look at Pro Football Focus, the grades and the comparisons of targets versus completions, percentage and all that, Reed Blankenship played better. So you have a better deal. You have a player who's, let's be honest, not childish and foolish and posting on Twitter and deleting tweets and just really creating a lot of drama. So I think this is fantastic news. Thumbs up for Reed Blankenship. I think that the Eagles are in for a very, like I said, productive season on the defensive side of the football. I think people will be very surprised. And again, we have the draft coming up, so that'll be very exciting. Wanted to mention real quick, because you guys may have seen this, I'm not sure if you've been taking a look, but the odds for the league MVP are out, as well as the win total. So I thought this is an area where you could possibly make a little money. If you're into betting, if you're into making some picks, I always like to just see what the odds are listed at. But these two are some very easy ones, at least in my mind. But you take a look, the 2023 NFL MVP odds to win, here you go. You have Joe Burrow at plus 650, Patrick Mahomes plus 650, Josh Allen plus 750, Justin Herbert plus 900, and Jalen Hurts at plus 1,000. To me, that's an automatic winner right there. Now, obviously, yes, players can get hurt. There's always risk in gambling, so gamble responsibly if you're going to do that. As we heard from Nick in his interview just a second ago, this is who Hurts is. I mean, you've seen Jalen and what he's getting ready for, gearing up to get back to the Super Bowl. I'm just telling you, had a phenomenal season this past year. We've got an insane offense, possibly even better if you get add Bijan Robinson or maybe even some other signings. So I'm just saying right now, that to me is very intriguing at plus 1,000. The odds are only going to get worse as the season goes on. So maybe worth a flyer. Just wanted to bring that out. The other bet that you could take on the Eagles, as I just saw this, is the win total. And so you take a look, the 2023 NFL season over-under win totals. It has right here the Philadelphia Eagles at 10.5. To me, that's really low. For a team that just won 14 games, 10.5, that's respectable if you were to say, right in that 11, win range, making the playoffs. But I think 11 wins is the floor. And I'll show you what I mean by that. So if you pull up the Eagles schedule here and take a look at the opponents, obviously we don't have the schedule itself. We just have the opponents that they'll be playing. But it may change a little bit. But let's just go through. I'm going to conservatively, you may hate it because I'm going to say, hey, we lose to this team, but I'm going to conservatively, worst case scenario, I think we have 11 wins. So let's say at home, you beat the Cowboys. At home, you beat the Giants. You beat the Commanders. You beat the Cardinals. Let's say you lose to the Bills. The Bills are a pretty respectable team. Let's just say you lose to the Bills. Let's say that you beat the Dolphins and you beat the Vikings. And let's say you lose to the 49ers. Again, worst case scenario, I think that we'll have more wins than that. But let's say you have 2 losses at home. Okay, so you're at 2 losses. And then let's say you split with the Cowboys. So you lose the Cowboys. You beat the Giants. You beat the Commanders. You lose to the Chiefs. Let's say you beat the Rams, beat the Patriots. You lose to the Jets. And let's say that you lose to either the Seahawks or the Bucks. And then you win the other one. right there, if you count it, that's 6 losses. That's an 11-6 season. Now, again, to me, this is the worst case scenario because you can go through and say that the Eagles have a great chance to win more games than that. But I'm saying worst case scenario, you take a look at the schedule, you don't even know where the bye week falls. So yes, that could play a factor. But to me right now, I'd say, you know what, sign me up for that over-under total. Give me over 10.5 because I think this team is very, very strong already. And they've got that hunger and the desire to get back to the Super Bowl. Nick is going to keep them focused, like he mentioned in the open, of competing every single day, winning every single day. So curious to know what you guys think. Let me know in the comments below. Are these some bets that would be worth considering? Do you think that Jalen has great chance at the MVP odds? Same thing for the over-under total. How many wins do the Eagles have this season? But let me know in the comments below. Reminder, live show tomorrow with Thomas Mott at the Thomas Mott Show, 7 o'clock Eastern. Be sure to check that out. It'll be on Thomas's channel. I'll have the link in the description, as well as all the other news that we'll cover. But appreciate you guys joining as always. Until next time, I'm Josh Davis, and this has been the Philly Special.